Hello there, time now for Back Pages tonight here on Sky Sports News, bringing you a first look at the sports stories in the morning's newspapers. Joining us this time around are David Ornstein from The Athletic and Ihsan Khan from the Daily Mail. Great to have you back on the show, gents. Let's run you through the back pages. I say back pages, we'll start with a front page, shall we? The Scottish Daily Record, their headline, Fight to the Finish. That's after Hearts' win against Falkirk and a late Celtic winner against Motherwell means that the Scottish Premiership title fight will go down to the very final day. Meanwhile, in the Express, Carrick's the man for United. It has emerged that Michael Carrick is the preferred choice by the Manchester United hierarchy to continue as the permanent head coach. In the Mirror, they also carry that story on Michael Carrick, but also news of the Premier League as well, as Man City impress against Crystal Palace, 3-0 winners to keep the heat on Arsenal. Yeah, and this one in the Star, fight for your right to party. Pep Guardiola will take it down to the final two games of the season in their Premier League title race against Arsenal. Yeah, similar story in The Guardian as well. No letting up, they say. And also news of Spygate, as it's been dubbed, Borough to train for final in case Southampton are expelled. Okay, Ihsan, David, really good to have you back on the show. Really good to see you. We have to start with that Scottish Premiership title race. Oh my goodness me. My emotions watching this game over the last few hours has been up and down like a roller coaster. I mean, Hearts did all they could. They won impressively 3-0 against Falkirk, David. But we have to start with that late Celtic winner, a penalty in the 9th minute of time added on. Was it a penalty for you? And my goodness me, what a win by Celtic to keep this title race going.
Well, we just can't seem to get away from refereeing and VAR controversies at the moment, Jess, and this is but the latest. They've actually had a lot of issues up in the SPFL, but it's perhaps not got the same coverage as what we've heard in the Premier League. This was incredibly harsh on Motherwell and also, of course, Hearts. The handball may be by the letter of the law, but it's certainly not clear and obvious from the images that I've seen. And the length of time that the officials took over it was not what we've come to know. I'm not sort of advocating for these long, multiple replays, but it seemed they had kind of made their decision that they were going to give it. Hearts will feel incredibly hard done by, and it could have such a massive impact on the title race, as we saw with the West Ham Arsenal game at the weekend. But Hearts were magnificent tonight, absolutely brilliant, as they have been for the vast majority of the season. The atmosphere was incredible pre-match throughout the game, and their performance was in keeping with that. They got the goals that will help with their goal difference. And now they kind of need to go to Celtic on the final day and either get a draw or a win. And that, in many people's eyes, would be the title they deserve after 66 years. Celtic, fair play for the way they've come back and overcome their troubles. And Martin O'Neill, magnificent. And their dominance, it could go on. It's been remarkable. But Hearts still, despite that controversy, stand on the verge of incredible history.
They really do. So Hearts then at the top of the table on 80 points. Celtic just behind them on 79 points. But it's Hearts who have a 5-goal better goal difference in this one. It couldn't be closer, could it, Ihsan? So it's going down to the final game of the season at Celtic Park. How do you rate Hearts' chances of winning a first top-flight title in 6 decades?
Well, throughout the season, they've been really, really impressive. This has not been a story in which they've come on in the final part of the season. Throughout the season, it's been a sustained run from Hearts. And as you say, we think we've got an amazing title race here in England, with Arsenal chasing a potential first Premier League in 22 years. Over at Hearts would be the first in 66 years, which again just shows you the enormity of that scalp if they are able to achieve it. As David said with the penalty, it looked very, very harsh. After what happened in the West Ham Arsenal game, there was a lot of complaints about it took up to 5 minutes for the referee to go to the monitor and for it to go through all the checks for that goal. But in this scenario, it's gone the absolute opposite the other way, where they took around less than 30 seconds to look at the monitor, the referee to make the decision, which seems, again, on the extreme end and arguably a bit too quick for a decision which has such an enormous ramification for this title race. From the images I saw, it seemed that the ball actually made substantial contact with the Motherwell player's head rather than the arm itself. So it's a decision that's already causing mass controversy just minutes after the final whistle in Scotland, and that will rumble on for the days to come. But I suppose from a Hearts perspective, this still is in their hands. If they beat Celtic or even just get a point against Celtic on the weekend, the title is theirs. So it's about trying to somehow block this out and focus on that next final game, because, as I say, it is in their hands ultimately.
Yeah, I mentioned Hearts being on 80 points. Last season, they finished 7th on 42 points behind Celtic. That's absolutely incredible, the difference that this season has made. Let me get a quick prediction from you both. David, I'll come to you first. Who's going to win the Scottish Premiership? Is it going to be Hearts? Is it going to be Celtic? Be careful of your answer here, because the producer is of a certain green and white persuasion, and your booking for next time around might depend on this answer.
I'm not going to be allowed back on, because I'm going to say Hearts. They deserve it. They have been playing the better football right up until tonight. Their performance this evening was better than Celtic's. What's happening there, and right from the ownership and Tony Bloom coming in with his Jamestown analytics, McInnes's leadership of the team and staying there to really drive this project forward, and some of the talent that they have extracted the maximum out of has been astonishing. And yeah, just by virtue of the fact that avoiding defeat will get them that unbelievable title, I'm going to say they are going to end Celtic's dominance and pit them to the title on their home turf.
Okay, it's been more than 40 years, Isan, since a team outside the old firm has won the league. Will Hearts do it? Yes,
because it's in their hands. As I say, they can park the balls, hold on for a draw. They don't need to win, whereas Celtic need to get the victory, which does change things. And after what happened tonight, in terms of the just and emotionally nice thing would be for the wrong to be made right, and Hearts, to win on the weekend.
Okay. Well, it was great having you on for your final show, gents. It's been absolutely brilliant. Fair play to you. Okay, so we're going for a Hearts win. Okay, let's move on to England then, because it's been a similarly interesting and very entertaining Premier League title race, hasn't it? Back page here of the Mirror. And they've very much focused on City doing the business tonight in that win over Crystal Palace. And it was a much changed Manchester City side, wasn't it, David? I wonder if that was perhaps Pep conceding that the league isn't as important as the upcoming FA Cup final, or it's just a natural part of football these days where you use your squad when you've got so many games being played every 3 to 4 days.
Well, just quickly to say, it's amazing that we're coming to this second, and that shows the brilliance of the Scottish title race to have top billing on this show, as it did on national radio tonight, and it will in a lot of the publications too. And many of the goals were going in at the same time, which meant, you were jumping between the screens, which you don't often say between a Premier League title race and Scotland. It's fantastic. That lineup shocked a lot of people. Haaland and Doku, City's most dangerous players, both being on the bench, and of course there was quality throughout the team, but it gave the impression that Pep Guardiola's mind was on the weekend, and I'm sure it is to some extent, because that's a direct opportunity to take their second trophy of the season in what may, unconfirmed of course, be his final season at the club, judging by a lot of the speculation. But then we know that City are such a good side. They've got a great record against Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace have got an eye on the Europa Conference League final, and those that were playing are more than capable. You know, Semenyo's been one of the stars of the Premier League season at Bournemouth and then Manchester City. Phil Foden, we know his quality. We just haven't seen it enough this season. And you know, it was only a couple of years ago that he was handsomely PFA Player of the Year, and his first assist tonight in particular was just astonishing. He got two, and he will feel full of confidence. It's great for England as well in terms of that number 10 option, whether he can sort of battle back to get a place on the flight to the States and also in the team. That was a really intriguing element to it all, and Marmoush weighing in with a goal as well. City boosting their goal difference once more, and look, it's clear they're going to push Arsenal all the way. Arsenal now can't win the Premier League title on Monday night against Burnley. Bournemouth host Manchester City the following night, which will be an incredible game, I think. Two top quality teams, and you just get the sense, obviously this is going to go down to the final day and maybe even the final minutes, and you'd back Manchester City then to beat Aston Villa at home. So perhaps it's Arsenal who will need to beat Crystal Palace to lift their title. But yeah, Manchester City, just don't write them off. They're going to fight until the bitter end. We know that they are a team that is just a club that is just full of success, and it looks like they could have a bit more before the season comes to an end.
Yeah, we've seen City like this many times before, haven't we? They're also featured on the back page of The Guardian as well. The headline, "No letting up. Semenyo sparks City stroll to close gap again." And Ihsan, this was a high-pressure game. It was must not lose, really, wasn't it? And they really impressed, did the job, even though they weren't at complete full strength, which just goes to show that they really do know how to deal with these pressure moments, these City players.
Yeah, I know it's different players compared to from seasons before under Guardiola, but it's the same manager, and he just knows how to navigate a title race, how to win when it matters most. Before the game, with them 6 changes, it did surprise me as well to see the likes of Haaland, Shirky, Doku on the bench, but it just reflects the depth in the City squad, which is why he can make however many changes he wants, and it's still stronger. His second 11 stronger than most teams in the Premier League, so he's afforded that luxury. They were a bit shaky early on, and I thought there were some concerning signs in the first 10-15 minutes, but once they got that first goal, they really put foot on throat. In fact, in the last 15-20 minutes, you had Shirky, Doku, Aït-Nouri just juggling the ball around as if they're playing a five-a-side game, and they seemed to be having fun out there. The big crucial thing I thought was the goal difference. That was 3 goals, and they're now 1 goal ahead of Arsenal goal difference. If it does go to the final day, which is a real possibility, and with that goal extra and also the firepower in that front line, you would back City to just about get over the line if Arsenal somehow slip up in their next 2 games. As I say, Arsenal are in the driving seat. You'd expect them to beat Burnley. You'd expect them to beat Palace on the final day. But pressure does funny things to the mind. We've seen so many times this season of Arsenal losing or slipping up or doing something that we did not expect when the pressure was there. So the title race is still very much on, even though Arsenal are the favourites.
Yeah, the title race is definitely on, and we expected that from City, didn't we? But also, David, this is very nice momentum building for City ahead of that FA Cup final against Chelsea on Saturday.
Well, I don't think City need that much momentum because they're such a good side and they're a trophy-winning machine. However, it does give them fresh legs. And okay, they've been out of the Champions League, so they've not played tons of football of late. But to have Haaland primed and as Ihsan said, Shirky as well, who has been such an integral part of what they've been doing of late. Doku has been the star of it all in the last few weeks, and Semenyo, Foden coming back into form. Let's see if Rodri makes it. That's a really interesting one because it felt like it was presented as a minor injury when it first happened, and then we've not seen him since, and it's been a few weeks now. And he's so important to what City do. He was massive in the Carabao Cup final against Arsenal. Even though he's not at his very best since the ACL injury, his presence, he just controls play. He's an absolute monster in the middle there, fantastic player, and not so long ago Ballon d'Or, and they'll go into the final as favourites, of course. But Chelsea will be building up for this massively. Haven't had a game in midweek, and it's their chance of entry into Europe and a piece of silverware in what's been a massively tumultuous season at Stamford Bridge. And we know they have players in the likes of Cole Palmer and João Pedro that can really hurt any team, and they can Manchester City on a one-off occasion. Maybe the underdog tag will suit them somewhat, and they got past Leeds in the semi-final, which is maybe their only source of real confidence of late. So it should be a great final, but City are really gunning for that trophy. It's very possible now they won't win that Premier League title. So to finish with 2 cup competitions for a club whose currency is silverware is really critical to them. And of course, we don't know what's happening with Pep Guardiola. So there are so many plot lines to this, but they will be fresh and firing. And yeah, I'll give you that. They've got momentum too.
Good. Thank you. We agreed then. So yeah, you're right. There's so many storylines and twists and turns to come. So 2 games of the season left to play in the Premier League. Ihsan, just briefly, who will be lifting that Premier League trophy? Man City or Arsenal? Looks like
Arsenal.
we've lost Ihsan.
I think that...
Can you still hear us, Ihsan?
Just got you there. But very simply, Arsenal. I think from this position, it'll be unfathomable for them to let this slip. And if they do let it slip, it would be a massive disaster after finishing runners up for 3 seasons in a row.
Good stuff. And from you, David, Arsenal or City?
Yeah, it's inconceivable that Arsenal let it go from here. They should beat Burnley and Crystal Palace, and that would be enough to get them the title. And let's see what Manchester City do against Bournemouth. City will be ready to pounce, but this is Arsenal's title to lose.
Okay, Arsenal champions of England and perhaps Hearts champion of Scotland. Okay, David, Ihsan, thank you for the moment. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be looking at more of the sports stories in the morning's newspapers, including this in the Express. Carrick's the man for United. Will Michael Carrick become the permanent head coach of Manchester United? Hello again, you're watching Back Pages tonight, and a big welcome back to David Ornstein from The Athletic and Ihsan Khan from the Daily Mail. Let's go directly to the back page of The Express. We're talking Michael Carrick again because it's emerged that he is possibly in the lead to take over permanently as Manchester United's head coach. Carrick's the man for United is the headline. David, I wonder how confident fans of United can feel that the club has done or is doing its due diligence and not simply going for the more straightforward, popular option with the fans.
Yeah, there will be a process, Jess, but how extensive that is dictated by the market, and there's not a great deal of options for Manchester United in terms of that top level coach manager in the form of Thomas Tuchel, Luis Enrique, Carlo Ancelotti, and they're not available, at least for the time being. They're either at the World Cup or said to be renewing contracts. Then you drop down to, with respect, slightly lower level to the likes of Marco Silva, Andoni Iraola, Oliver Glasner, and so on. There's Julian Nagelsmann and Unai Emery perhaps in that sort of gap between the two levels. And then you look at what Michael Carrick's done and you sort of say Manchester United targeted Champions League qualification. That wasn't a guarantee that he would get the job, but he's done what was asked of him. He's very popular on and off the pitch with the playing squad, with the staff at Carrington, Old Trafford. He knows the club. He knows this level of football from his playing career. He's not done a lot wrong. Now, it's not been perfect in terms of maybe style of play, couple of concerning results. How's he going to manage the extra fixtures, the Champions League, the transfer market, so on and so forth. But you would raise many of those questions for other candidates too. And if you were to appoint another candidate and it goes wrong, what sort of criticism would you get? Whereas there's a lot of goodwill for the decision to appoint Michael Carrick, if indeed it ends up like that. So this direction of travel has been coming for a while, and I'm sure they've spoken to and will be speaking to others and Michael Carrick and seeing where it leaves them. But the reports suggest that this recommendation's going to be made to the board, to the ownership, and that would put Michael Carrick in pole position, which many feel he deserves to be. And it's obviously a big moment for Manchester United, but the way in which they're trying to sort of improve the club, executive level in the transfer market, they've made some good signings, and recover from the sort of traumatic period under Ruben Amorim and previously Erik ten Hag. You would say this is sort of expected, and let's see what the next days bring, because the suggestions are they want to get it wrapped up relatively quickly.
Back page of the Mirror also features this story: carry on as boss, they say. United chiefs believe that Michael deserves to get permanent job. Interesting word that, Isan, deserves. Doesn't necessarily mean best for the job objectively, does it? But, you know, as David was saying there, Carrick is going to have to deal with a lot of extra fixtures next season. They will be expected to get to the latter stages of the domestic cups. They'll be in the Champions League as well, and trying to push for a title challenge, if Michael Carrick is to be believed by how confident he can be in his players for next season. So will he be able to deal with that, including the increased scrutiny from the media?
Well, next season will evidently be a different challenge in itself, but all we can do for now is judge him from what he's done in the job since taking over in January. He deserves a lot of credit. When he entered that club, there was so much disarray between not only performances on the pitch, but off the field, what was happening, the disconnect between the players and staff, just a toxic nature around the club. He's come in, and since being appointed as the Manchester United boss there, he's attained more points than any other Premier League manager in that period, which is a massive feat in itself. And the objective for him was clear when he stepped forward. I thought it was to achieve Champions League football, and then the club would assess things from there. So from his standpoint, he's done what the club wanted him to do, and now it's of course the club's prerogative of what direction they go towards. And from the reports in the papers for tomorrow, Carrick is the direction they're seemingly likely to go towards. As you say, next season there'll be so much more to deal with. There'll be the transfers, there'll be European football, which is another minefield of 2 games a week. Like this season, he's had the luxury of having extra time at the training ground to prepare players, to look at tactics. So it is a different kind of job, but he deserves immense credit, because the job and position he's took on at Manchester United was not an easy one, and he's adapted very, very quickly in a short space of time. He had no choice but to get in there and start on the front foot and get the results moving, and he has done that.
He has. Almost coming to time, David. So let me just ask you this. Will Michael Carrick be a success if he is to be the permanent manager? You've got about 20 seconds or so.
I think he has the credentials to be, yeah. I like him, and I think he's got as good a chance as anybody else that Manchester United could get at this moment in time. And if you're clever enough about the contract, you can make it so that it's a good situation for all parties. It's worth a go. And if you then have to change, fair enough. But Michael Carrick, I think I've got a good feeling about.
Thierry Henry has sent a strong message to Mikel Arteta ahead of Arsenal's massive Premier League clash against Manchester City, and he didn't hold back. The Arsenal legend warned that talk is cheap unless it's backed up on the pitch, especially with such a defining test coming up this weekend. While the Gunners secured their place in the Champions League semi-finals after goalless draw against Sporting CP at the Emirates, Henry made it clear that the performance simply wasn't good enough. Yes, Arsenal got the job done, thanks to their 1-0 win in Lisbon, but managing just one shot on target at home raised serious concerns. And against a team like Manchester City, Henry believes that level just won't cut it. Now, all eyes turn to the Etihad Stadium, where Arsenal face the league leaders in what could be a title-defining showdown. Arteta's side currently holds a 6-point advantage, but City still have a game in hand, and recently beat Arsenal 2-0 in the Carabao Cup final. The stakes couldn't be higher. "I want to see that fire at the Etihad," Henry said on CBS Sports. "It's easy to talk, but go there, against Manchester City, and show what you're made of." Henry made it clear that while he believes in Arteta and the direction of the team, belief alone isn't enough. I believe in what I see, I believe in him, in that fire. But when you say things like that, you have to deliver. And I didn't see it tonight. Despite his criticism, Henry acknowledged the significance of reaching the Champions League semi-finals, something that doesn't come around often. We're through, and I'm very happy. A semi-final, it's huge. I never won it, but I did win the league. Now go to Manchester City and win. That's what I want to see. I believe in Mikel, yes, but show it. When asked how Arsenal should approach the game, Henry was blunt. Not like tonight. Not like against Bournemouth, or Brighton away, or what I've seen at times this season. And when questioned whether the performance against Sporting would be enough to beat City, Henry laughed. The Manchester City I've seen recently? They've won 4 in a row, and even Liverpool were in the mix. It could have been more. Still, Henry remains hopeful. In fact, he's been consistent in his belief since the start of the season. I truly believe we can win the league this year. This is our biggest opportunity to prove, as a team, that we are capable. But for him, it all comes down to action, not words. I'm sitting here in the studio, there's nothing I can do. But I've heard fire. Now I want to see that fire at the Etihad. One moment that stood out to Henry was Declan Rice's reaction at full time. Look at his face. Go back and watch it. A lot of players were smiling, but his expression. I don't know. Maybe I need to talk to him to understand what he was thinking. This is a guy who just reached a Champions League semi-final. Henry made it clear, there's no negativity in celebrating the achievement, but expectations must remain high. This is huge, congratulations. It doesn't happen often in our history, so of course I'm happy. But against City, I want the team to win, not settle for a draw. That's it. Arsenal head into the clash with just 1 win in their last 5 matches across all competitions, including a 2-1 defeat to Bournemouth in their most recent Premier League outing, a reminder that improvement is urgently needed if they want to make a true statement against City. The pressure, therefore, is not just about one match, it's about momentum, identity, and belief at the most critical stage of the season. Inside the Arsenal camp, there is a clear understanding that performances must match ambition. Arteta, speaking after the draw with Sporting, admitted that his team has to improve a lot, particularly in the final third, where their lack of creativity and cutting edge was evident. While defensive discipline has been a strength, the inability to control games and create consistent chances is beginning to raise questions at exactly the wrong time. That concern is echoed by pundits and former players across England, many of whom agree with Henry's assessment. The general feeling is that Arsenal have shown resilience, but not the dominance expected of a team aiming to win both the Premier League and compete deep into the Champions League. Declan Rice, however, has taken a different stance. The midfielder has brushed off external criticism, insisting that the squad remains fully focused and unaffected by outside noise. Internally, there is still strong belief that this group has what it takes to deliver in decisive moments. Rice's mentality reflects a dressing room that is trying to stay grounded, even as scrutiny intensifies. The upcoming clash with Manchester City is now being framed as more than just a top-of-the-table encounter. It's a defining test of Arsenal's maturity. City, with their experience and relentless consistency, represent the benchmark. Pep Guardiola's side are known for stepping up in exactly these moments, and their recent run of form only reinforces the scale of the challenge. For Arsenal, the narrative is clear. Promise is no longer enough. After coming close in previous seasons, this is the point where they must prove they can handle pressure, respond to criticism, and deliver when it matters most. Supporters are divided. Some see this as the perfect opportunity to make a statement and silence doubters. Others share Henry's caution, worried that recent performances hint at vulnerabilities that City are more than capable of exploiting. What happens at the Etihad could shape the remainder of Arsenal's season. A strong performance, not just in result, but in attitude and intensity, would reinforce their title credentials and validate Arteta's project. A weak display, on the other hand, would only amplify doubts and hand momentum back to their closest rivals. In many ways, Henry's words have already done their job. They've sharpened the focus, raised the stakes, and set a clear expectation. Now, all that remains is for Arsenal to respond, not with words, but with a performance that proves they truly belong at the top.